The living room, where the family meets to discuss issues, any issue which may be bothering one of the family members. That's what we do each and every Tuesday on WAC 90.1 FM with Ricardo Mitchell and DJ Aaron 868. We have casual conversations on serious topics, from sports to culture, mental health to economics, relationships to life lessons. Join us each and every Tuesday on WAC 90.1 FM. The Living Room, casual conversations on serious topics.
It is now 6 p.m. here in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know the time it is where you are, but I'm glad to know you're locked on to the true nation station WACK 90.1 FM, where we are
culture crazy.
First and foremost, let's kick this off as we always do, all right? Must give thanks and praises to the Almighty for granting us the gift of life and seeing another day. No matter what time of day it is, you must always
give thanks.
Secondly, we must say thank you to those that went before us, and we are not just talking about our ancestors, the original inhabitants of Trinidad and Tobago, because we all know, accept, reiterate, and say it with chest that Columbus lied, but also to our brother in music, Tony P, where the P this week stands for
Put on, babe. Put on. These youths and them had to put on this lifestyle, they had to put on the weapons, they had to put on the guns, they had to put on the fast money mental, they had to put on the vex quick. Yeah, put on by it. Aaron, this weekend has been ridiculous.
Can you adjust your statement and say not just the youth but the people?
The people. Right? But I also recognizing that there's a generation that I don't know what we could do if by now they don't understand. Right? What them in the sticking, I can't do nothing about them. Because the youths I could talk to, which big hardback people listening to we when we ask them to do better, Aaron?
As Jan Stedman just say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
But we have politicians who want to give you people a chance, and then they blaming the youth. So
you're not politicians who don't want to retire.
You understand? So you're not involving them in the solution, and you're quick to call them the problem. How are we going forward with that kind of mental? So
you don't even want to involve them in the conversation.
Right. So the youths are asking to put on the lifestyle, to put on the guns, to put on the crime, to put on these things. The elders, I go ask them to, put in the time now. Put in you don't make your NIS payments and thing already. With all the respect, it's time to throw frame, because what all you're getting on with cannot continue.
It's time to RIP, retire in peace.
All right then. So we could say the P is for peace, because we want the youths and them to choose peace as a lifestyle. A little bit of progress too, And I want the politicians and them to retire in peace.
But the peace is not just PEACE.
Mm-hmm.
It's PIECE. Because we also want the youths to get their piece of the pie.
You dig?
And when I say piece of the pie, so much things I want to talk on. But before I go any further, we must say, I'm fed up saying, but we must say condolences to the 15 families who would have been affected by the bloodshed and the murders this weekend. Right? We have to address that elephant in the room first and foremost, Ricardo. And we don't know how to ask for people to do better. We don't know how to ask for it to stop. But we will continue to pray for it to stop.
What? Yes, Aaron, you're right. Let us activate our national security policy and pray for it to stop.
I didn't honestly, that wasn't I just subliminally come with my thing sometimes that I didn't even intend for that cross reference in there.
Aaron, Mr. Williams, Mr. DJ Aaron 868, Mr. MC, Mr. Host, Mr. Podcaster and radio host, and all these fascinating things you're doing. Aaron, you know how long I have this beanie?
That looking like a comfortable 10 years.
Nah, it's a fresh beanie, but you know why you never see me in it?
Why is that?
As a black man in Trinidad and Tobago, I dare not wear this to go outside. I dare not wear this to go outside because I know it automatically puts me into the cross the road, follow him around the store, clutch your purses, your pearls, lock the doors category. You see, the fear of criminality in Trinidad and Tobago has gotten to the point, Aaron, that nobody with even an inkling of anything outside your norm can be considered safe anymore. Nobody. You think people understand the level of philosopher that I am? You think they understand the level of contribution that I make to society privately and publicly? You think they understand the principles that I function under? No. I am a black man in a beanie in Trinidad and Tobago in 2024. They might walk out the roti shop if I walk in my beanie. If I'm not properly kept and trimmed and... Listen, the choices that individuals make, I can't do anything about that except address the individuals. But you see the absence of accountability by those in positions of authority and responsibility for accountability, well then I will jam all it because I can't wear a beanie because crime's so bad in Trinidad and Tobago that everybody think everybody is a threat. I'm blaming y'all for me not being able to rock my awesome beanie. And I'm making light, you know. But am I? How many micro decisions we making on the premise of crime by?
And I'm going to add to that. For some reason, whenever a young man from a questionable area is murdered or charged, these media houses can't find better pictures.
That's an issue. That's an issue.
Or is it that they're using that picture to support the headline? Mm-hmm. Is it that they are conditioning our minds to, well, I can't say it's conditioning like that, but are they continuously trying to reinforce in our minds that crime is supposed to look a certain way? Because I can't say that they're trying to do it because for years this has been going on.
You know, I in the mood today. Aaron, you know what crime in Trinidad and Tobago looks like? When you think criminal in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And of course, with all respect to the most amazing, the only 100% total local radio station in Trinidad and Tobago, I am going to tread very carefully. Out of respect for the opportunity that they've given me, I'm going to tread carefully here. The citizens of Trinidad and Tobago are of the misconception that the face of crime is a particular one. When you see certain people of a certain, to use one of your favorite words this last 3 months here, of a certain ilk, they believe that they are the people who are responsible for propagating crime. And you know what we don't look at? The other ilks in Trinidad and Tobago that propagate crime on a daily basis on larger scales, that facilitate, enable, maybe even encourage and finance the very visible form of crime that we are reminded of every time we open the papers. And sometimes we don't even have to open the papers because we know what it looks like on the headline. But there are people that when they are charged, when they are arrested, when they are held for inquiry, their names and faces are plastered over the media. And there are people that when they're under investigation for fraud, when they're under investigation for scams and all forms of nefarious financial behavior, you don't see that. There are pictures that regardless of what territorial dispute, now here the catcher, from the time I say territorial dispute, you start to think one way. But if I say fighting over land, you start to think another way. You see how I use language, meaning exactly the same thing to allude to two entirely different demographics? There are pictures for one set. All I'm saying is that the use of certain imagery and the use of certain language in communication is the essence of communication. So the question that you're asking there, Aaron, is a legitimate one. Which is why there is an unspoken responsibility on the rest of us who do not practice criminal malice, who do not practice nefarious behavior, who do not practice illegalities, to over-express how unlike the stereotype we are. I'm just saying, Aaron. You're right. Media houses, media heists, they do have a responsibility and maybe even an investment in things looking and sounding a certain way.
Did you just use heist as heist as the plural of house?
I just studying how you take heist and turn it into heists. You still have a gift. You have a gift. That is a talent.
You see, and again, as always, draw reference to the story, and I'm not going to talk about that time that I get rubbed down when going pan practice because my pan sticks was in the pocket and I was in a dark area on the side of the road waiting on a car. I'm not going to draw reference to that. However, I will draw reference to the fact that there are times when I go to the pharmacy after going to catch a sweat, right? I might go and buy a block of cheese or to buy bread or whatever the case is, right? And whenever I go, sometimes I might forget to pack extra clothes. So I might be going in the pharmacy in my pants with mud on it, nasty socks and slippers and a jersey or whatever the case is. And I tend to get the looks or the, who's he, boy? What he come in here for? Let me not go in the line. Let me take 2 steps back. And then I'll reach up to the cashier and purposefully, as always, put my wallet in those scenarios. I just slip it in and tuck it in my pants on the side now. And I just see the angst and the anxiety which other customers exhibit when I choose to now go and dip to pull my wallet off my waist.
I mean, but you're looking for it. If I was in security or off duty in one of those spaces and you dip wastely.
Yeah.
I mean,
no. Again, I understand the risk that I am putting myself at in that scenario.
You just totally undermine everything I try to express here.
No, but what I'm saying, Ricardo. When now I pull the wallet out and I pay for my items, the audible gasp or the audible sigh of relief from the persons there. So again, it is you are conditioned to think that because somebody looks disheveled, as you said, you have to work extra hard to make sure that, you know what, you don't exhibit that same or exude that same aura.
I can't show no black Air Force energy.
Exactly. But in my scenario, I'm just an innocent black man who now don't sweat, and football pants do have pockets.
Right.
From your time sweating with me in the park, you're supposed to remember that.
Hey, I mean, I remember as a former semi-occasional athlete, Semi-occasional.
Semi-occasional.
Yeah.
And occasional don't mean part of the time, so wow.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's the thing. So again, I'm not fighting that we need to be vigilant, because we need to express extra vigilance in this time. Because you could just be dropping your car off to service and taking a walk at a mall nearby and as they say, pick up a few.
Brother man, you could be next in line at an outlet grabbing yourself a hoagie and a coffee, and it's because men pulling up outside and peppering. You see the Aaron, this is as brazen as you would,
No. I'm not going to say you could also be trying to earn an honest dollar, plying as I say, pulling a trip.
No, not pulling a trip. This man was a registered driver. He was at work.
Right. Right. It has been bad. It continues to be bad. But we asking that we start to, you know what? It had to start with one day with no murders. That's how it have to start. Because if we continue one a day, it go add up. So let me start firstly with one day with no murders. And then we'll graduate to 2.
Right, and we could go a month without it, and then you'll get
Exactly.
15 in a weekend because you have not addressed the root cause. So that's great, Aaron, but I kind of at a point where I'm tired of platitudes. I'm tired of the we could make it if we try. Yeah, no, Aaron, we need, I am a praying man. Big up the Holy Spirit Apostolic Ministries International. Had to plug my church there. I am a praying man, Aaron. But you know what? I could pray a whole night and then pick up a piece in the morning. Or I could pray a whole day and then go and check out outside, man. What I'm saying is practice is required. There's an application of the principles about which we pray that is sorely lacking. So I get, as a nation, we need prayer because some of the things that are going on in this country will only be addressed by prayer. However, the minds, hands, mouths, feet of the population have a part to play in the expression of the results of prayer. We have work to do. We have people that are not being held accountable for the contributions to criminality. We have people who are enabling and excusing them. You know what we have? We have real nice sound bites like, they ain't riot yet. And it's cute because now we're saying, look, the politicians don't care. And then we have on the other side of it, all you're too wicked, which is a criticism of the people trying to enforce the laws of the country in ways that might, not necessarily reflect the gentlest means. Then, we also have Iran, you ever hear the term dog whistle? Mm-hmm. You know what a dog whistle is in communication?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the frequency at which a dog whistle is audible is beyond the human ear's capacity. So when you blow a dog whistle, there's only animals that can pick up that frequency will hear it. There's language that people use to trigger a certain demographic or to trigger a certain listener. So if I was to use, let me say Americanized term, a good old boy. A good old boy is a term that refers to a very specific ethnicity in the United States with a very specific political leaning. So it have terms that when you use them locally as well, though when you're referring to a certain type of person. There's language that is being perpetrated in the comment sections, in the newspapers, in the headlines, that dare to just quietly continue to choke certain narratives, a certain direction of conversation, etc. Aaron, when you hear somebody is a pest in the neighborhood, let me address this as frankly as possible with all respect to broadcast responsibilities. But when you hear somebody is a pest in the neighborhood, what comes to mind?
For me, somebody that is terrorizing the neighborhood.
Excellent concept. Now, what is the expression of this concept in your mind's eye? What do you imagine? What do you visualize?
You see, and there's the sad part. Because of the areas which I grew up in and things I was exposed to, I just see it as a young man.
Right. So you automatically assume that a neighborhood pest is a young man. So now, as men, we already starting with a negative stereotype to navigate. Being a young man in any community, there's a very real possibility that we have to disprove pesticism, right? No, go on. Let me do a little social experiment here. Let me stretch your minds of the people who stay tuned long enough to continue to listen to us wax poetic and philosophize. Right? Now you picture a young man, right? When you think about a pest in the neighborhood, and this young man that you envision, right? This is not a young man abstract absent rather characteristic or trait or ethnicity or look, demeanor, attitude, complexion. This is not a Lego man you're picturing. You have an idea what the pests look like in your mind. So when you see in the comment section, go ahead. I hear you.
Again, because of where the environment in which I grew up and stuff, you call some things, some areas, some poignant areas in terms of descriptive measures, which for me would not apply.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure.
Because you have not. All right, let me put it this way. I know I say what I said. I know how I say it, right? You telling me it would not apply? You have not even recommunicated to me what those would be for me to say yes or no. That is what I'm talking about.
Okay, so again, right. So for me, the main thing and the main characteristic I would look for in terms of if I was to identify a pest in my community would be the apparel.
Right. Excellent.
All other factors are 90% invalid to me. But the apparel is the most poignant point.
All right. So, in your experience, based on the way a young man dresses in the community, he has a greater likelihood to be a pest, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. And because of the community that you've grown up in and lived in and based, let me restart that sentence. Based on your experiences and the communities that facilitated those experiences, you are telling me that ethnicity falls under the 90% that do apply.
Yes.
Okay. I, sir, believe that you are being dishonest, even if not with the listeners, with yourself.
No. And you see, I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't want to paint a negative image of some of the areas which I would have grown up.
So we're not addressing the issue because you're particular about how it would look.
Yes. However, I will say that certain ethnicities would never object or would be considered.
So certain ethnicities would not be considered. However, ethnicity is not a part of the 90% that you don't include in the
right. Because admittedly, just now, Ricardo, and this I think this is where persons think. What are the two main ethnicities in Trinidad and Tobago?
Now that has to be a rhetorical question.
No, I'm asking because we have any conversation. Let's and we being as truthful with the listeners as possible.
Afro and Indo-Trinidadian, and not necessarily in that order.
Right. So, judging from that, the areas that I grew up in, those were the two main ethnicities which I was exposed to. Because of school, there were inklings of the Chinese or the Syrians and stuff like that. So that's why I say, at home in my immediate environment where I would have been exposed to the pests, those were the two main ethnicities which I would have been exposed to. So that is why in that scenario I would say that the other ethnicities cannot be factored in, because if they were not in the environment that I'm speaking of, they cannot be considered.
So in other words, regardless of your ethnicity, your apparel is the most significant
for me.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So have you seen, let's say we choose the several other ethnicities available to this discourse, right? Have you ever seen them in apparel that lines up with this pest with pest kits?
Very few and far between.
But you have seen them. And let me stretch this thing a little bit here. I like when people grow on the audience. Let's stretch this thing. What is up? What is the apparel that you're speaking of?
Pants below the bottom.
So, good.
Right, pants below the bottom. For some extent, I wouldn't say just as slippers. But disheveled footwear. Or just stick to the disheveled footwear. Because it have a neck side of the disadvantage dress too.
Right. So what you're telling me is you have not seen that particular combination in certain corner groceries? You don't see slippers and disheveled footwear and 3/4 hanging below and disheveled. You telling me you don't see that when you walk into certain, I don't want to call no ethnicities here, Aaron. But when you go into certain groceries or maybe areas that have casino machines and that type of thing.
Right, but where's the catch? Again, I'm basing this on my environment, and I think that's that's what I'm telling you. And that's what I'm telling you. I'm basing it on the environment that I go to, the places I frequent, the places I may, as you say, what do you call it? Partly occasionally.
Semi-occasionally.
Right. The place I may semi-occasionally just stop at to buy something.
All right. We've had a recent wave of immigrants in the country. And by recent, we mean with this thing going on 10 or 15 years now. I know when you just stop calling it recent, right? We've had a recent wave of migrants to the country. You telling me that you haven't seen this particular ethnicity in the pest kits?
That's not. Now I had to think a little bit deeper. Again, remember, Ricardo, I am judging this and answering these things based on the places that I go to, my environment.
There, and you just be all over the country working.
And that's the thing. But again, as we spoke before about curating your social media space, I curate my environment very, very, very carefully.
So you've never seen laborers on our job site, employees in a grocery, a group outside a gyro stand,
and you know what?
Cat. Is it that is the environment is absent of these things, or is it that you have a selective perception, a deliberately selective perception?
No, I don't have a selective perception. However, just how I have been telling people they need to be vigilant, I practice that. So if I am passing somewhere and see, let's say 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and you know what, let me paint the example perfectly. Saturday night, I had a job with Terry. Pick up Terry Lyons one time, right? And on my way home, I decided I was hungry. This was about 3 o'clock in the morning. So I said, let me pass.
Yeah, I'm passing one of the very carefully curated environmental spaces that don't have none of these things that we're bringing up here.
Just now.
I listen.
You're preempting me here. You're preempting me here. Right.
Actively listening. I'll tell you what I tell you off here. But actively listening.
Right. So I decided to drive down Superior Street. And so I don't know when is the last time we went down Superior Street, Ricardo.
I was on Superior Street up to the day before yesterday.
Right. So coming down from the top, it have the first gyro man in the green cart. Then it have the one on Sutton Street corner. Then it have a new cart. And I like the food from the new cart opposite Sutton Street. But when I was driving past there, the bar across the road from there had some questionable looking persons.
Of only 2 ethnicities.
Just now.
No, we only have an hour, Aaron, so...
I know. So they had some persons, some questionable looking persons. The pants below the waist, the vest, and I've nothing against what we would call a wife beater vest.
Or you'll find it on Amazon on that tank top.
Thank you very much.
Before people take that little, we are nothing against wife beaters. We don't tolerate that around here.
We don't, right? But
right.
So
tank tops
and the slippers,
Merinos, yeah.
And the wow,
yeah.
That another name for it.
Another name.
And then the hat, a beanie hat, something like what you have on there, Ricardo. But it is not facially revealing as what you are wearing right now.
I remember my good looking too, so I had to show off the money.
Oh, thank you very much.
Actively listening. Mhm.
Right? So when I noticed that, I say, boy, there's not a place for me to stop.
You notice it.
And to answer to your question, no, they were not of the two major ethnical groups of Trinidad and Tobago.
So they register in your mind as a possible threat. However, they did not qualify for the pest description.
Yeah.
That is my whole point.
But again,
that is my whole point.
No, but again, basing it on what we established earlier, Ricardo, what is one of my biggest matriculation standards of identifying a pest?
The kit.
Thank you. And what did this group meet? What did this group meet that standard? Did this group meet that standard?
The apparel qualification.
Right.
Did you think of that group when I started the discussion about neighborhood pests?
I wouldn't call now this gone
right.
This is
ladies and gentlemen, me, we have epiphany. Go ahead.
No, we don't have epiphany. And why I will not accept this, because in my neighborhood, for me, remember I'm saying for me.
Yeah, but you're on a public platform with an interest of representing the listeners outside who don't know what it's like, for the listeners outside who've forgotten what it's like, for the listeners out. I hear you represent. You're speaking for you know.
Right, and I say I'll accept it. I'll accept if that's wrong. But what I'm saying, in my neighborhood where I reside now, I don't have that.
I asked you what you thought when you read it. As your whole point. When you read it.
Yeah, all right. But as I say,
what images it trigger.
Right, but as I say, the main thing for me is dress code.
Right.
But in my immediate environment, I stick to this point. I don't have, beside the two major ethnic groups in Trinidad, I don't have that in my area.
Right. I needed to understand the point that I am making, Aaron. The majority of Trinidad and Tobago is subject to a visual representation via the two major races, right? The two major main ethnic. I don't like to say major races and main ethnicities. That have it is sounding good, right? Higher percentage ethnicities, right?
Right.
Having witnessed the crowd that you saw, they would have made the exact same decision. Or if they were in a restaurant, in a grocery, by a cart, by a bar, and the apparel presented itself, regardless of ethnicity, they would say, I feel like good, yes? Or let me make a turn. Or I'm not stopping. Unless that's what you're looking for.
But again, let me add to that now.
Yeah, I ain't finished. I'm going to add to it.
No, I'm going to add to it. Because there's the other side of it now. Last week, Friday, when I finished on Friday night on the radio, right? I was just feeling far bay.
Right.
And I went by watering hole, which I usually frequent. But when I frequent there, I go during daylight hours. So the place is always well lit. And when I walked into the establishment on Friday night, there was a young man there who fits the description of what we had a term for it. The pest description then, right?
Apparel?
The pest apparel, yes.
Right, because for me it's more than apparel. Eh?
Yeah. Well, for me, he was clad in the pest apparel. And for some reason, when I was walking in, I saw a Regina mine. I say, hey, what's that going on there, Barry? Because it's not somebody that usually frequents that spot. But again, I coming outside on my usual time frame, so maybe he's come that time frame.
Yeah.
And my partner, yeah, wow. And my partner was like, nah, Barry, don't worry about that. He's safe. I didn't even venture inside.
Right.
I got one of the waitresses to bring a beer for me outside.
Oh no, what word you was gonna use when you pull back one of the bar some things, you know. But anyway. Yeah. And but you're near the catch, right? And this is the danger of seeing without observing, noticing without investigating. you say apparel is the significant determinant, right?
Yeah.
All the things I call, none of it, that's out the window for you, because once you have any kits, you qualify. Right. You recognize that upon seeing it, but you did not think of it when I said it or when you read it. That is the danger of narrative, Aaron. In conversation, you realize, hey, when I see it, I good. But it was not the thing that came to mind when an idea presented itself, when a notion or a concept was expressed to you. It is that initial reaction to a particular phrasing or a description or an experience, right? That is the dangerous thing in communication. Because if you go beyond the superficial experience or the superficial
Appearance.
you might realize to yourself, wait a minute, that is not in itself a complete statement. It might not even actually be applicable, but because it reflects enough that it is familiar, you think it is right. We even talk behavior yet, Aaron. We even talk behavior as a determinant of whether or not somebody fall on a pest category,
And
you dig?
And you know what? And I think this is the perfect time to bring this up, because two things. One thing before I bring down that point is like halfway through the program. And if you don't know the program you're listening to, this is the living room with yours truly, DJ Aaron 868. I remind you each and every time that Culture is my code alongside by my bro with no fro but a lot of flow.
Ricardo Mitchell, the social stage on the global stage.
Right. Sunday. Yeah, boy. Sunday. Every year, my mom just carry me a boat ride, right? And every year, because it's one of her workers, one of her staff, this church, and I say every year, let's go with mommy. And halfway through this boat ride, I was walking on the top deck of the boat, and a gentleman proceeded to dip his hand in my pocket. Now, I don't know if he was trying to put something in or take something out. So I pull out his hand. I was like, Dan, what you doing? He watched me. Hard luck, the big man, and proceeded to keep it pressing. And as much as I don't want to say he did not fit my matriculation standards of the pest attire, day after on the boat ride, I was hyper vigilant.
Wait,
because
he wasn't wearing
no
Pest United uniform?
Wow. Wow. But then again, it was probably a wolf in sheep clothing.
You know what I appreciate about that, Aaron? And listeners, I want to understand that the tension it might have developed, I might have noticed developing between Aaron and I, as we discussing just now, is the healthy friction between two men navigating a point in the interest of learning,
conversation,
growth, conversation. This is how it is going, I want you to understand something.
I could finish my point first.
Wait, no. We playing past the interruption, right? I want you to understand something.
You didn't press the buzzer though.
Crap. All right, go ahead.
Bing, one for me. Yeah, right.
Let's pardon the interruption. Look at this again. Bing. Yeah. No, right. But no, unreal. I just want to understand that this is important, because in our conversation, sometimes you're required to adjust your perspective based on what it is you're presented with. This is what healthy male conversation can look like.
Can sound like, for those of you listening on the airwaves.
Right, and for those of you who looking on the YouTube, you could also check the replay if you want to get more visuals of these relatively semi-occasionally good-looking fellas on DJ Aaron 868 YouTube page under the living room playlist. But yeah, so this is what it looks like. So carry on, sir. You were on a boat. You there was an attempt at stealthy pilferage.
Pilferage, yeah. Right. And for the rest of the ride, which was about 2 hours after, I was hyper vigilant because it appeared as a wolf in sheep clothing. Again, I could totally be misreading the entire scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, a man putting hand in your pocket is one or two things he trying to do. Put something that's not supposed to be in it.
Right.
Or take something that's supposed to be in it out of it.
There's a third option, Aaron.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, oh my gosh, wow. I wasn't looking for that one there.
Oh, God. You might have fallen in love with a hopeless place.
I already found out.
You're a mentally love boat, yes? Anyway, so go on.
You know what fits in? The team of the boat, right? Was wearing pink, you know.
Hey, you sign up for that, brother, man. You
Anyway,
know exactly what you get yourself into.
Right? But really and truly, it's as much as that is my main matriculation standard, you have to also accept that it have wolf in sheep clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are plenty criminals dressed in shirt and tie every day.
Right.
There are plenty criminals who own businesses and price gouging.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that one is something.
Aaron.
Just wait. Let me finish this point. I'm just trying to drive it
we
home.
We only have 20 minutes, but you just drive. How far does drive going?
But you just give monologues. Let me give mine now.
Yeah, but I just engage with it now. Don't just leave you on cliffhangers every third word.
But I'm giving it. You interrupt me. So anyhow, it can't be that you know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be in your local corner shop, be it the parlor, the grocery, or the conglomerate,
mm-hmm.
or the multinational.
Mm-hmm.
Peas and carrots cannot be $5.99 this week and $12.99 next week.
Right.
There's no global shipping factor that I heard about, and I just deal up with the economics, that could cause 100% price increase in a week, beside price gouging.
I hear you. I've seen vegetables go up in price because of floods. But anyway,
no, but again,
that's
an economic factor, Ricardo.
I hear you.
Remember, economic factors include natural disasters and weather. So just like our ship could stick in the Suez Canal and cause shipping delays and cause prices to go up, floods in Woodland and Davie could cause price of tomato to go up.
I'm curious though, were you wearing pink?
Yes.
Pink pants?
No, brother man. No, I don't own pink pants, Mr. Yellow Pants.
I would have called it the pink pants, sir. What I want to... By the way, did you check your pockets in case the man was just giving you his number? Or it could have been a call card, you never know. Maybe the man have a venue that he want to... Me could have been somebody from the boat, giving you a souvenir. You've actually created more questions than answers.
You're trying real hard, huh?
I am curious, Mr. Williams, as to why your mother would carry you this very sus boat ride.
Last year was...
It
wasn't that sus last year.
And by the way, listeners, sus is short for suspicious.
Suspect.
Suspect, yeah. Yes. Based on the way that the young people talking.
I'm not going to say we're exhibiting our youth here. Because, we are post-youth.
We are post-youth.
We are post-youth. Yeah, post-youth.
Yeah, we post-youth. What you say?
And but if you don't know what we mean when we talk about youth, post-youth, and university youth, what you can do is go back to the Living Rooms playlist and look for the episode from July the 9th with Kwesi Robinson, and take that in to check out the plethora of programs which the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service has on offer.
Yeah,
www.mydns. Right.
Yeah. That was a nice conversation. And I want to let you understand something here, right? We talk in a kind of way because we're being respectful of... I don't want us to become people who are propagating the same nonsense that we're criticizing. So we're trying to address certain issues without fueling any divisiveness. But I am one of adding fuel. I'm one of those people who believe that you know, to treat the wound, you had to clean the wound, and sometimes you had to aerate it. You had to be able to get to what the problem is. And you know what's crazy to me, Aaron? Look at how many people around us have attempted to purchase vehicles, land, things of significant value. And then you hear about some smart manism, about somebody who they pay money to, or even people spend money on housing developments and apartments and things in areas that never complete. They ain't get a key. People missing for it had to find them for years, all kind of thing. And you don't see these people's names and faces on the papers for these levels of fraud that in the 50s, 70s, hundreds, millions.
I could add another example. You pay for vacations that you never get.
Right. Flights you never
flew on.
Right. What I'm saying is, depending on who perpetuate that type of thing, you might find out about it.
And you know what else continues to perplex me? The swiftness in which certain ilks of society are granted bail. I wasn't supposed to say that?
No, this is me actively listening. I dare not be accused of interrupting again. Perdóname.
Yeah. But really and truly, is always here, this one commit this crime and get bail. And then a next man commits a crime in 2012 and he now get bail.
Aaron, it have men that call the police station and tell them when they're coming in. So if it would be, convenient, we have some questions for you. Aaron.
And I'm gonna say, I just only see that when I watching like my criminal shows and things. I really like them shows.
Yeah, and that happening in Trinidad and Tobago, men calling the station and say they're coming in with the attorneys, or men calling them to tell them I have an investigation going on. Other men,
pass and check, man.
They're coming through your gate 4 o'clock in the morning and a higher shackle on the bench next to the pedos and dealers and murderers and thing. It have men getting locked up for maintenance and the shackle to the same bench next to the men who are warrants on their head from multiple homicide and them kind of thing too. Anyway, that's a whole next story.
Alright, here now. More and more we continue to realize and I'll take a page from Ricardo's book here. The need to tear the system down and rebuild it.
Hold on, sir. People get in charge for inciting. Nobody saying nothing about tearing no systems down. Only please, let's skip back. Listen to the episode again. Nobody is inciting anybody to tear anything systemically down to rebuild. No, sir. Not to that. Not when our fearless leader is talking about it had coups that were being planned and investigations going on. And no, sir, not this program, not these hosts. Boy.
Okay, I retract my statement. But what I'm saying is, there's a need for change.
Yeah.
There's a need for reform. And if that reform means building a process from step 1 again, it is needed. Because you can't tell me in 2024, I supposed to be, I may be traveling next 2 weeks. And I had to put my name on a list to get, not USA, no, not USA, to get EC. I could understand.
I thought it would be easier than that.
Right?
Easier than that?
I see what you did there.
Yeah. All right.
But again, I honestly thought the plight for foreign currency was limited to USD. I did not know it's all currency.
They were telling you, and this is, I'm doing it on air in front of the viewers and listeners, in front of the audience. Aaron, you had to do more than notice, Aaron. You had to do more than notice. You're a bright, observative fella. You had to do more than notice, Aaron.
No, but again, if you're not, you always see the clamors and the issues with procuring USD.
Mm-hmm.
You very rarely ever hear people having issues, well, and pounds. USD and pounds.
Yeah.
I very rarely ever hear people speak of issues to get any other currency.
I'm going to challenge you, my young brother, as you, I believe it's in the final month of this particular year. That's what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
July, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Going into your new year, there are things that I want you to be intentional about your discovery. You see, one of the, and I'm doing this as a brother, right? I'm saying it as a brother because it's happening to a lot of us. So God alone knows who this out here for. But we get so caught up in the production aspect of our lives and the progress action of our aspect of our lives and even the provision aspect of our lives, right? That we get tunnel vision and our head down to the grindstone working and we failing to see what is going on around us because we're too busy being busy. So it's a challenge to you and to our listeners. Let us look up every now and again and make sure that we are aware of what is going on around us. We can't wait for people to reveal to us things that we're supposed to be exploring.
Right. And again, point taken. But as I said, Ricardo, I did not expect that level of issue with a currency that is not in high demand.
Right. Let me tell you how that ties in perfectly to what it is I was talking about earlier, Aaron. It's a Forex challenge we have. But you hear Forex and you think USD.
No. And you see this thing, I want to explain it to you, but because of the sense, the source in which I got this information, I can't disclose it on a public forum. So I'll explain it to you after the program is done.
Yeah.
But again, because of how the same thing I was saying, because of how the system is set up to get it done, the procedure needs to be redrawn from point one for it to work properly.
Yeah.
Right? That is as much as I could say.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Because
what I'm talking to you and to our listeners about is that if we only, and you know what, this gonna sound a little conspiracy, brother-ish, but if we keep waiting for information to be revealed to us and for us to stumble across its incomings and goings, then we are heavily reliant on our environment for our futures. Right? I want all to understand that even the exact same word that being used in two different rooms means two different things. And sometimes as we see the difference between a territorial dispute and a fight for land, right? It could be the same things, but depending on how you present something as well.
And
you don't just target, but you also identify a particular group.
But not just that. It's not just based on the group that you're trying to target. It is also the location, the geographical location has a huge part to play in it.
Yes.
Because a land dispute, or what's the next term you're using?
No, a territorial dispute.
A territorial dispute or a fight for land.
Let me, go ahead.
A territorial dispute, a fight for land could either be in the south or the north of the border, depending on where you live in.
Right.
Right? We getting perilously close to the hour of 7 p.m.
You notice I didn't say turf war at all, eh?
Oh, that next thing too. Again. Anyway,
right.
I was gonna say something. I was gonna say something that I read I read when during my period of
reading
of further education, and when I read again the history of Trinidad and Tobago by the late Dr. Eric Williams, with that kind of thing and how certain land was developed and stuff like that. If you have the time and you have the ability to procure the book, because for some reason I lent somebody that book and I have never gotten it back.
Which is why I couldn't borrow it.
Yes, I still have capitalism and slavery though, but I can't lend that out because the book starting to pull apart.
And for those of us who are visually inclined, every now and I want Ole to go and follow Dominic
Calipersan. Yeah, that
on
is
social media. That man is a treasure trove of data information right now.
He's a walking histocyclopedia.
You know what? The man religion have nothing to do with this, Aaron. Come on, better than that.
What?
Hey, Ole.
I just make up a whole word for historical encyclopedia and you didn't even boy. Did you have your coffee today?
Not yet, Aaron. Which is probably why I'm so ornery. Ole, this crime thing ridiculous. Ole, stay prayed up, please. And the reason I was speaking the way that I'm speaking is because scripturally I believe that we should not be conformed to the ways of the world, but we should be transformed by the renewing of our minds, so we can know what is true, acceptable, right, the will of God. Right? We have a responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, for the way that our minds process the information we're exposed to. The ways of the world is such that we will go along with what is given. We have to be able to resist that by being intentional about the way that we perceive. We always say it in the living room here that your nutrition is not just what you eat, it's what you consume.
Your diet.
Your diet is what you consume. Please be mindful of, again, if you eat something for nutritional value, you gotta ask yourself, if you take information, it's for what informational value? What communicational value? Right? This is why it is I leaning heavily into this too, because too many big hardback people with sense doing too much dotishness out here. And then we blaming youths for following the patterns of dotishness that we've either established or allowed. So before I get accused of going on another one of my monologues, I just want to tell all you, right? We managed to make it through our whole 55 minutes without talking about the interruption / assassination attempt in Pennsylvania this weekend. Aaron,
Yet still you just did.
Hey, no, we have foreign listeners and there's a big deal for them, right? Actually a big deal for all of us. Will history could have changed by an inch the other night.
For some semi-occasional ones.
Hey. Anyway, this is Ricardo Mitchell, the social sage on the global stage. Thanking you guys for joining us in the living room. Remember, guys, the hourglass is opaque. We don't know how much time remains. Whatever you're doing, be good and stay safe. And don't take on how me and Aaron us go at it, because this is important. This is iron sharpening iron here.
Yeah, boy. Also, sometimes, as I keep saying, somebody's had to be devil's advocate in the conversation. And there are times when both Ricardo and I do eloquently switch roles as to who is the devil's advocate in the conversation of the day.
I lead our life behind as an advocate for Jesus.
Well, we know that, but the term is devil's advocate.
I'm not taking that, dog. I am being transformed by the renewing of
okay. Conversational advocate. Is that better, sir?
When you do your thing, don't study me,
So half the time I really don't anymore.
That's why I started to say it so much times. Anyway.
Right. For those of you so inclined, remember, congratulations go out to both Spain and Argentina on winning the all of a sudden. On winning the Euro 2024 and Copa America.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I can't remember his first name, but Alcaraz also won Wimbledon on Sunday morning. And we rally again tomorrow morning as West Indies kickstart the second test with England. And we hope for a better showing.
I feel you might have to tell me about that, yes?
I don't watch it, I just watch I don't even watch the highlights because it's not no real highlights. I just watch I read the squad the other day. Yeah. Alright, as I tell you each and every time, I'm DJ Aaron 868. I remind you, culture is my code, and I tell you that love is the currency, so spend some today. Let somebody know you love them, please. Catch me again on Friday night inside Friday Night Fete. Tobago, this weekend I'll be across there spending some time with you. Alright? Give it a look. Mr. Desmond is up next with the big band.